Okay, guys, so we're going to start looking at a new type of conic section called an ellipse. So what is an ellipse? Well, an ellipse is a set of points in a plane in the sum of whose distances from two distinct points called the foci is constant. So what that means is that I can choose a point anywhere. Like I chose that point. So the distance from these 2 points, when I add them together, will be the same as if I were to add the distances from this point to this focus, from this point to this focus. That's going to be constant the whole time. Okay, so here's some specific things that we need to know about of an ellipse. Is that they have some special points. They have two vertices or two vertexes, and they are points on the ellipse that make up something called the major axis. And that's a chord that goes through the vertices and the center. Now, one thing to know about the major axis, it's the longest axis. Okay? And then the center is the midpoint of the major and minor axis. Now, what is the minor axis? Well, it's a chord that goes through the covertices and the center. So we have covertices that are, and what's happening is that the major and minor axis are what we call perpendicular to each other. They form a right angle. Now, when we come up with the equations, there's three things we need to know. And we need to know an A value, a B value, and a C value. And the A value is half the distance of the major axis, or it's from the distance from the vertex to the center. So from here to here is what A is. It's B is half the distance of the minor axis, or it's the distance from the covertex to the center. And then C is the distance that the foci is away from the center, or it can be used using this formula right here. So these are the three types of equations, or four different types. Well, really, these two equations are the most important thing. Okay, so it depends on when we have a major axis is horizontal, or if my major axis is vertical, kind of like what we did with parabolas. So write this down. When you guys are done, let's jump to the first problem. So, in this case, I know that my vertices are at 4, 0, and at negative 4, 0. Okay? So, because my vertices form a horizontal axis, that means my equation is going to have the form of x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So h and k are my centers. So I have to find out what is in the middle of these two vertices. So right here is my middle. It is 4 away from this vertex and 4 away from this vertex. So my center is 0, 0. So in place of h and k, I'm going to put 0 there. Now a is the distance that the center is away from the vertex. So when I look at this, how far away is the center from a vertex? That distance is 4 units. So that's what a is going to be. And then b is half the distance of the minor axis. So in this question, they tell me that the minor axis is 3, so b will be 3 over 2. So what happens is my equation is going to turn out to be x squared over 16 plus y squared over 9/4 equals 1. So let's look at another one. So in this case, I know my center. So my center's at 3, -1. I made a mistake, so let's erase this. Center's at 3, -1. That's not where it's at, guys. I'm kind of silly with that, huh? So 3, -1 is located right here. Okay, that's my center. Now, 3, -4 is my vertice. So 3, -4 is right here. Okay? So, in this case, I'm looking, and what type of axis do I have? It's a vertical axis, so it's going to have the form of x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. Okay? So my center I know. It's going to be x minus 3 squared, and then it's y plus 1 squared. Now the other piece of information I know is what a is. A is the distance that the center is away from the vertice. So a is going to be 4. So I'm squaring 4. Now b is half the distance of my minor axis. So in this case, my minor axis is 2. So if I divide that by 1, my b value is 1. So I end up with x minus 3 squared over 1 plus y plus 1 squared over 16 equals 1. So what I want you guys to do for me is look at this equation, try it, and we will talk about it tomorrow. There's one other one that I want to go over. It's this one right here, in which I want to be able to find the equation of this one. So in this case, I know that I have, in this case, I know what my foci are. They're at 0, 0, and at 4, 0. Okay? So in this case, I know my major axis is horizontal because my major axis also contains my foci. So I know right now it's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared over a squared and then b squared equals 1. Now my center is going to be in the middle still, so that's going to be 2, 0. So it's going to go x minus 2 squared plus y minus k, or y minus 0 squared equals 1. Now I just have to find out what a and b are. A is easy because it's half of my major axis, so in this case it's 8 over 2, so that's going to be 4 squared. B is going to be a little bit more complicated because I don't know what b is. I know what a is. A is 4. And I also know that c is the distance that the foci is away from the center. So in this case, it's 2. So what we talked about before is that we talked about how a squared equals b squared plus c squared. So it's going to be 4 squared equals b squared plus 2 squared. So in this case, it's going to be 16 equals b squared plus 4. So b squared actually turns out to be 12. So this is going to be 12. Okay, you could say that b is going to be the square root of 12, but what am I going to do? I'm just squaring square root of 12 to get that. So my equation is going to turn out to be x minus 2 squared over 16 plus y squared over 12 equals 1. Okay, so we'll talk more about this tomorrow. So see you later.